Hello everyone. Once again, welcome to you all in my social science class. I'm Arshi Aziz and children, I'm teaching you chapter number 5 of Civics, Parliamentary Government, the Union Executive. Children, today we study about the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Children, there is a Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister to aid and advise the President in exercise of his functions. The Prime Minister is appointed by the President, who also appoints other ministers on the advice of Prime Minister. And the Council is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Children, the Prime Minister is the real head of the Union Executive. Okay, you should have to keep this point in your mind. Then he heads the Central Council of Ministers and presides over the Council's meetings.
Elections to the Lok Sabha play an important role in a democratic country. The party which gets majority votes will form the government. The leader of the majority party is appointed by the President as the Prime Minister. Other members of the party who have won the election from their constituencies make up the Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister is the real head of the nation, while the President is the nominal head. The opposition party and members of his own party keep a watch over all his actions. Since he is the head of the government, he is answerable to the people. The Prime Minister remains in office as long as he enjoys the confidence of the Parliament. He or she has to vacate his seat when the Lok Sabha is dissolved. The Prime Minister is the head of the Lok Sabha and has various duties to perform. He decides the size of the cabinet and selects ministers, allocating departments to them. He presides over the meetings of the cabinet and coordinates the work of different ministries. The Prime Minister is a link between the President and the cabinet, and he keeps the President informed about the decisions taken by the cabinet. The Prime Minister plays an important role in national security and external affairs.
Now children will study about the Council of Ministers. So, the Council of Ministers appointed by the President of the advice by the Prime Minister, and children, only members of the Parliament can become ministers. If a non-member is appointed, he must be elected or nominated within 6 months. Now children, see the types of minister: cabinet ministers, ministers of state, and deputy ministers. Now children, listen very carefully. A question arises in our mind: what is portfolio? So children, the executive works through which different departments of government, including defense, finance, industry, agriculture, and various other departments. So children, we just call as a portfolio.
In today's news, the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers was sworn into office by the President in the Ashoka Hall at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The Prime Minister was the first to take the oath of office and secrecy. Next to be sworn in were the 15 ministers with cabinet rank, 6 ministers with independent charge, and 30 ministers of state were also sworn in. The ministers headed by the Prime Minister are together known as the Council of Ministers. Did you know that the ministers are sworn in the order of their rank? The Prime Minister, the primary member of this council, is appointed by the President. Other ministers in the council are then appointed by the President based on the Prime Minister's advice. The Prime Minister chooses the Cabinet from among the Council of Ministers. The Cabinet comprises senior ministers holding key portfolios such as Home Affairs, Defence, Finance, and Foreign Affairs. They, along with the Prime Minister, attend Cabinet meetings where policies and programs of the government are shaped. The Council of Ministers also comprises ministers of state with independent charge. These ministers handle the affairs of a ministry on their own and do not report to a cabinet minister. They do not have the rank of a cabinet minister, but may be invited to cabinet meetings when matters concerning their ministry are discussed. Then there are ministers of state, who assist the ministers of state with independent charge and the cabinet ministers. The cabinet system also allows for the appointment of deputy ministers, who are junior ministers assisting the Council of Ministers. Deputy ministers, however, are rarely appointed. Responsibilities of the Cabinet. The Cabinet formulates policies in different areas of governance, such as economic affairs, defence, foreign affairs, industrial growth, and formation of new states. The Cabinet also ensures that these policies are implemented through the Ministers of State and officials in the Cabinet Secretariat. The Cabinet ensures inter-ministerial coordination for policy implementations involving multiple ministries. Drafting the President's special address at the opening session of the Lok Sabha is probably the first legislative task that a new cabinet undertakes. The address contains an overview of the legislative program of the government for the year. A similar address is drafted for the first session of the Parliament each year thereafter. Legislative powers of the Cabinet include all the activities leading up to presenting a bill in the Parliament and ensuring passage after discussion. When the Parliament is not in session, the Cabinet advises the President to issue ordinances. They also push constitutional amendments which are necessary for any change in the provisions of the Constitution. Some of the other powers of the Cabinet include deciding when the Parliament shall be summoned and prorogued by the President, replying to queries put to them by the members of the Parliament in writing and on the floor of the House if the Parliament is in session, presenting the Union budget in the Lok Sabha. Although the budget is prepared by the Finance Minister, the inputs from the Cabinet colleagues about their ministries are kept in mind while drafting it. The Cabinet recommends the persons who will be appointed to important posts, such as judges of Supreme and the higher courts, the Chief Election Commissioner, and ambassadors to foreign countries. The President cannot declare a state of emergency unless the Cabinet decides on the same and submits it in writing. Similarly, the declaration of financial emergency and President's rule in a state are also decided by the Cabinet. You saw the various powers of the Cabinet. Next, let's look at their responsibilities. As per the Constitution, the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the House of People. This means that the decisions taken at the Cabinet meetings are a joint decision of the Cabinet, even if some member may differ on the decision. All the ministers jointly share the responsibility of the government's policy and programs. a vote of no confidence against one member is a no confidence against the whole ministry. Apart from the collective responsibility, cabinet members are individually responsible for their conduct, both as a member of parliament and as a minister. Their individual performance is assessed based on factors such as satisfactory participation in parliamentary question-answer sessions, financial health of the ministry. The Prime Minister may, if required, recommend the removal of a poorly performing minister to the President. Needless to say, with so many powers and responsibilities,
Civil service. So children, the term civil service has two distinct meanings. A branch of governmental service in which individuals are employed on the basis of professional merit as proved by the competitive examinations, and children, the body of employees in any government agency other than the military. Children, it consists of officials known as civil servants. The Central Civil Servants is headed by the Cabinet Secretary. A special body called the Union Public Service Commission (UPSC) recruits civil servants for the Central Civil Service. Okay, children? So, children, here our chapter is finished.